إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله.
In the old days, if you read history books in Europe and other countries, when they're talking about Islamic traders, they said that if we had an appointment with a Muslim trader at 12 o'clock, and I was waiting for him, and my clock was showing 12:15, and he came, I rewind my clock to 12, meaning that the Muslim trader, he comes 12 o'clock. He doesn't come late. This is essential in economics. This is what we call the Nobel Prize on this. It's called transaction cost. For those who does, I think there are 2 Nobel Prizes in this. Transaction cost. Because if you don't have trust, this is the element of trust in economical transactions, the cost of doing economics transactions gets so high. Because I have to check everything. I don't trust him. I have to monitor. I have to use extra work, extra money, extra stuff. So the concept in Islam is very clear. It says, and it even says in Hadith, لا إيمان لمن لا أمان له ولا دين لمن لا عهد له. If you don't keep your promise, you don't come at 12 o'clock, and it's basic small promises. It's not complicated things. Also small things. You have no deen. If I say a secret to you and you tell it to somebody else, you have no deen. You know? And this is what we call in stock, there's a trade in stock markets. It's illegal in Norway even, insider trading. You know, you get punishment, you get prison for it in Europe and in the US. And it's a really hard prison sentence. If I know something, I'm not allowed to tell, and I tell somebody that from my company, he bought shares, he gets in prison. So trust and contract compliance is essential in Islam. It is so important. And I asked one sheikh, where I had a lecture, and I said that if you don't, as the hadith says very clearly, if you don't keep your promise, you have no deen. He said, no, it's not like that. It means that your deen is a little bit weak. But you are a good Muslim, but you don't keep what you promise. You lie. And then we can go back. What is the sifat? First of all, who has the worst place in hell? And what are the traits of the munafiqeen? Please. إذا حدث كذب. If he talks, he lies. وإذا وعد أخلف. If he promised something, he doesn't keep it. وإذا أؤمن خان. If he is given a trust, he doesn't keep it. It's so tough. It's not kuffar, they're not even close to the munafiqeen. It's the worst people of all, because it creates such a problem in society. And in economics, we have proven it empirically. This is essential if you want to succeed in business as an individual, and if you want to build economic wealth as a nation. If you do not have contract compliance, you have enormously high transaction costs. And how is the situation in regard to transaction costs in Kenya? High or low? Extremely high. Kenya can never become a wealthy nation unless they solve this problem. And this problem can only be solved 2 ways. Either heavy punishment, as the European does, or Islam. And the only sustainable way, if people believe in Islam and they follow it, it will last. You don't need laws. You don't need judges. It will keep. And this is a story in Damascus. And there was one old man, he was going to Hajj. And in the old days, going to Hajj took a long time. So he had 1,000 dinars. He went to a bookstore in Suq al-Hamadiyya. There's a marketplace in Syria. And he gave the bookstore 1,000 dinars. Can you keep this for me until I come back from Hajj? He kept it. The old man went to Hajj. He came back. He went to a first bookstore and said, I put 1,000 dinars here. Can I get it? And he gave it to him. And he went out of the bookstore and went to the next bookstore and said, this was the wrong bookstore. So he entered the second bookstore. I put 1,000 dinars here. Can I have it? And he gave it to him. And then he went further on down the street and said, no, this was this bookstore. So he went in, and that was the correct one. Can I have 1,000 dinars? I put it here. Yes, of course. Here we are. He went back to the first one and said, you gave me 1,000 dinars, but I hadn't put 1,000 dinars here. Why? He said, I feared that it will come out in the market. People say that you can't trust me. I don't comply contracts. I don't follow contracts, deals, agreements. And that's the worst thing for my business. It will destroy my business. And it destroys businesses. It destroys business. It destroys nations. And that's why the punishment in Islam for not keeping your contracts is extremely harsh. You have no deen. So it doesn't help. So we have to really work hard on this. And it's basic, small things. Coming 12 o'clock. It's basically like that. Small things. Then we have the concept of return on investments, which we talked about earlier. And as I said, in Islam, the purpose is to maximize value creation, but in an eternity perspective. So what we see, really good investors, and in Norway we have a sovereign fund. You heard about a sovereign fund in Norway? It's that you put money aside, the government, and invest it. So we own, I think you have done 3% of all production in the world. Norway, 5 million people, they own 3% of the production in the world. The concept in this fund, how do they invest? They say, we are investing for eternity. There's no end. When you do that, and that is Islamic perspective, you're investing with no end. Right? Because there is no end. Is there an end? We will afterwards be counted. We will get our money back in Jannah. What would you get in Jannah? No, I will not try to hurt anybody, but some Sufis, they think, oh, we get a spiritual issue. No, you get gold, you get houses, you get silver, you get hard cash, or values. That's what we get. So the perspective in Islam is an eternity perspective when you do an investment. Hadith, very nice hadith. It says that if you have a palm seed in your hand, and you see the sun come up from the west, you are a farmer, your business is food production. You see the sun come up from the west. What are you supposed to do? What does it mean, first of all, when the sun comes up from the west? Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's finished. You're dead. You know. And you have this seed. What should you do? What did the order? Yeah, what should you do? Plant it. Invest. Because as a farmer, that's your investment. You're obliged to invest. Even though you think it's finished, I will die. Invest. Always do invest. Always do production. Economic growth is production and consumption. So, in Islam, principle number one, invest with our eternity perspective. And if you go to Europe and you see the rich families who've been rich for hundreds of years, they have a principle. And I work for a lot of investors of these families. Their principle is eternity. When we invest, we think eternity. When I see Muslims, unfortunately, in Europe, when they invest, think, how much can I get today, and I can run away. They won't know how to cheat them and run away. You know, short-term thinking. Very short-term thinking. This is destruction for production. So, in Islam, the principle of return and invest, maximize eternity perspective, and invest even though times are bad. Do we have more time? I'm a little bit on, we have more time. Then we have an interesting aspect. So we said transaction cost, I think it's 2 or 3 Nobel Prizes. And we had the first one, social economics, I think it's 2 Nobel Prizes. And now there comes one that probably will be the second Nobel Prize this year. In Islam we call it sadaqah. I try to write in sadaqah. It's a principle in Islamic economics. And this sounds very strange. That if you make money, you should give sadaqah, right? Business people should give sadaqah, and even our non-business people. And what does Allah say about it? Because He says in Surah Al-Baqarah about interest rate and trade in finance, it's no barakah, right? And yurbih sadaqah. What does it mean, yurbih sadaqah? What does it mean? Growth, increase in value. Return on investment is the term we use in English. And does it say fil akhirah? No. It says fil dunya. Strange. So, professor in United States, his name is Adam Grant. He said, I want to go out in the US. I want to do an empirical study among business people, economics, business people, executives. What is the difference between those who have a high return on investments and those who have lower return on investments? So he did a huge empirical study. He printed a book last year or the year before. It's the most sold book, one of the most sold books in the United States. He found that business people who give something of value to people in need, they have much higher return on investment. Wow. Is that strange? Have you heard that before? Where have you heard that? Quran. Yes, in the Quran. It's very clear. Does Allah lie? Do we believe it? No. Trust me, give me $50 in sadaqah, you will get 100 back. He said, nah, I don't believe it. Unfortunately. It's true. Let's not lie, let's be honest. It's true. If we really believed it, we wouldn't be where we are today. If we really believed in the Quran and we applied it, we don't have to understand. Because I honestly, I read it in the Quran many times. I didn't understand why, to be honest. But I said, as we should say as Muslims, what should Muslims say? Samana wa atana. We heard and we obeyed. We did not need to understand. We do not have to understand why. He did an empirical study to try to understand why. He found out that if you give money, the book is called Give and Take, he will probably get a Nobel Prize, subhanallah, again, based on the Quran, for that. What it turns out, that people that gives money, it has some effects. They take more risk. They take more risk. Right? Is it strange? When you used to give something of value, and you have to train, it's nothing that comes automatically. You're willing to take more risk. When you used to give something of value, and you have to train, it's nothing that comes automatically. You're willing to take more risk. You don't get cheap. You're not cheap. You're willing to say, this is an opportunity. Let's play. I don't care about the money. Let's try. And when you try and you take risk, you get high return on investment. It's an obvious explanation now. But it wasn't that before I read the book. And there are more traits that affects return on investment. Principles in Islam. I think we stop at those principles. There's a lot, and we'll make some questions now. There's a lot of questions, right? So for us as Muslims, we should learn this thing. We want to be good, do business, and do well business, and succeed in economics and business. And wealth in Islam is good. I always say, Islam, subhanallah, it's the optimal religion. Wealth is not a problem. Actually, it's a good thing. To be rich is a good thing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, every day, what did he do every day? He made a supplication. Against what? Poverty. And what do the Christians say? If you want to be close to God, what do? You swear, I will be poor. You become a nun or a monk and you say, Wallahi, I will be poor all my life. If I get money, I will throw it away. This is crazy. In Islam, no. We say, give me money. أتني في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة. It's not a problem if you use it right. It's not a problem at all. On the contrary, I give a hadith which is very people like. It's the hadith when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Yunkah al-mar'a li-arba." You marry a woman for 4 reasons, and it goes the other way as well. What is the first reason? Her wealth, her money. And the second, her family. And the third, her beauty. And the last, religion. And that's, of course, the most important. The first one was wealth, money. Who wants to marry a guy who's poor, bad family, ugly, but he comes to the mosque? Nobody. Anybody, raise their hands. Those who want to marry a woman, poor, ugly, bad family, but she comes to the mosque. No, we don't. God knows how we are created. He created us. It's obvious. Subhanallah. Okay, we do the questions now. Inshallah. Again, I got a question here. I read it, but I will not answer it. Can a Muslim inherit his parents' house that was built by bank loan? What do you think?
If you know it, you not inherit it.
You can't inherit it?
If you know it.
I'm not a mufti, so I cannot really say. But it's principle. This is what the difference between Bani Israel and the Jewish law and our law, that in the Jewish law, you inherit your parents' sin. If your parents did something wrong, you inherit their sin. In Islamic law, you don't. But whether you can take the house or not, I cannot say. Yes?
You said that we can invest in stock exchange.
Yes?
If it's not haram. Like here in Kenya stock exchange, Nairobi Stock Exchange.
Yes.
Many companies trading. There are some companies like the telecommunication company, which we all use the mobile phones. And we all use.
Make it short, please.
Yeah. How can we trade in those companies? Which we
In principle, I said every form of trade is halal. And buying shares in companies who does not do the things that is haram, it's okay. It's not a problem. You buy a share in a company who does production that's halal, it's okay. That's the principle. Yes?
2 questions.
Yes?
In your opinion, do you think there's any way the so-called Islamic banks in Kenya can be made completely Islamic?
No, it's to say, is there any way a brothel can be made Islamic? No. Yes. Oh, insurance. Insurance is a difficult topic, and it's a very much discussed topic. I will try to give you my opinion, and I will be a little bit careful. It's a minefield. In principle, I say insurance, as I understand insurance, is not haram, in principle. So if me, you, and you, and you, we say we go together, we put 1,000 dinars each one of us, in case something happens, we have a backup. So in case something happens to me, I need a medical surgery or something, and it costs 1,200. This cash we have, I will use that. And then we'll put it. But we own this money. In case nothing happens, it's still our money. It's our money. It doesn't go to somebody else. There are 2 forms of insurance. There's some insurance company, what if nothing happened the first year, this money is gone. And then you put it next year, and then it's gone. That is not legal, as I understand it. But if we do it in this way, as I understand it, it's legal.
You are required by law to have a car insurance.
Yes. Yes. So, and the ulama has made a fatwa on that. In the cases where you are obliged by law in the country you're living in to have a car insurance, and there is no insurance company using this system, then you are allowed to have. You are obliged. In Norway, we have a company that basically almost uses the system. It's like I have insurance in that company, and last year, if there is none-pay us, it made money. It gives out the profits to the people who have insurance in that company. It's not totally Islamic, but it has it's not an Islamic sense, a pure Norwegian company. But that's the way they're doing it. And we have other insurance companies who's not doing it that way. So if you can find an insurance company who does it that way, where you're a part of this cooperative, I think you have this SACO, is it called, this cooperative or something, who does it in the good way, yes, that's within the law, I think. Yes. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There is Islamic bond called sukuk. In Kenya, there is I know there is one in the Emirates, national bonds, I think it's called. It's sukuk, and this is not a bank. No. What they say, what I have so far seen, is that this is what I say. They say, well, you can put your money in our limited company, or some of our limited companies. You have a share in our limited company. We buy this with your money. We build this building. We sell it. We make profits, and you get a part of your profit. They're not a bank. You see the difference? They're not a bank. They don't trade in capital. They say we just go together because I do not have enough money to buy a building myself. So we go together and buy this building, and then if it makes a profit, we'll get the profit. We share it. It loses, we'll lose.